So today I thought I'd talk about meditation. A lot of people have been asking me about meditation. And what I realize is that there's a lot of misconceptions about what meditation actually is. A lot of people think it means that you stop thinking, you sit down in a cross-legged position, you try to stop your thoughts so that you can calm down and relax. So that's the first myth. That's not necessarily true. It is true that it's a byproduct of meditation that you relax, but stopping your thoughts is like trying to stop the clouds or something. We can't really stop the clouds just by looking up at the air any more than we can stop our thoughts. But when we look at the clouds, we don't grab onto any one cloud and follow it across the city. Instead, we might notice it and think that's a beautiful cloud. And at some point, we stop looking at it, we let go. With meditation, it's something like that. We notice the clouds, they're always there. Our thoughts are always there, but it doesn't mean we have to grab them. Another analogy would be sitting at a train station. I quite like trains, but I'm not going to jump on every train that I see, obviously. And it's the same kind of thing with meditation. You might look at it, but you don't get on that train, right? Getting lost in our thoughts, on the other hand, is getting on that train. In meditation, that's what we're trying not to do. We're actually trying to just realize that we are thinking or that we're lost in a thought. In meditation, we're just trying to notice that we're lost in thoughts. So we're sitting down in a comfortable way. It does not have to be on the floor. It does not have to be cross-legged. You could be on a park bench just like this, and you need nothing else. You don't need music. A park is actually a wonderful place. You have the birds, nature all around you, fresh air. Maybe if you're in a city park, you might have kids playing. That's okay. The noise doesn't bother us. Now, a conversation next to us might, because it's quite difficult not to get caught up in that conversation. But that's actually quite a good analogy to what it's like trying to push any thought away. If you get caught in a thought and you're just like, no, I don't want to think, get away from me. That's like someone standing next to you having a conversation and you're trying to zone out. Doesn't quite work. As I said, you don't need much. In fact, you don't need anything. All you need is yourself. The breath is a great tool to have because we need something to focus on. An experienced practitioner might be able to come back to themselves, as I like to call it, quite easily, just by closing their eyes and taking one breath. And there's a lot of peace in that breath for me. However, you can't expect that in the beginning. And even to have this level of peace for me in one breath requires a lot of practice. So when we practice, we focus on the breath because we need an anchor point, something to keep coming back to as we get distracted. For some people, the breath isn't the perfect thing because they might have some trauma associated with it, or for whatever reason, you might find some anxiety in your breath. You might get anxious as you're trying to do that. You don't have to use the breath. You can use anything. People have used so many different things in many different traditions. But if the breath isn't working for you, something else you can use is the feeling of your body, the weight, gravity, what that feels like. When I first start meditating, sometimes I can't find my breath, or my breath might still be a bit sporadic. And so it's not very calming. I find it easy to focus on the feeling of my lips touching one another. I try to feel the space between my lips, and I get this kind of tingling sensation instantly just because I'm giving my lips attention. And that's the beginning of a kind of body scan that I do. So I start with my lips. Now, you don't have to start with your lips. You can start with your feet, your toes, your head. I imagine like a laser scanning my body. And just what does it feel like? And I just go down. That works really well for me. And at some point, I just come back to my breath. It might be within a few seconds, it might be a few minutes, and I start meditating on my breath. And inevitably, this will calm you down. But calming the body is just one reason to meditate. In fact, I don't consider that to be the goal of meditation. That, to me, is a byproduct of meditation. There are two parts to meditation, and in Buddhism, we call them samatha and vipassana. So samatha is the calming, the focusing on one thing, which might be the breath, which inevitably calms down your mind and you do think a bit less, but it's not by pushing away your thoughts. Accept your thoughts, just be with them. You're like, I'm thinking. In fact, if you realize you've been lost in a thought, that's a win. That means you're meditating. It means you're doing something right. And the more times you realize that you've been swept away, the more you know it's working. Don't try to push your thoughts away and then give up after your first meditation. Instead, take it one day at a time and you'll realize you're becoming calmer automatically. Now, Vipassana means insight meditation. For a long time, I didn't really understand what it meant. I thought it meant that I would have some mystical insights. It's more about having insights about yourself, about your own habits and your habit energies. So let's say you are an angry person, you're quick to get angry, and you've tried to stop. So the way meditation works in this case is that you look at your triggers. This is where you start saying, okay, I don't want to be an angry person. And you can manifest any future that you want, to use that word. We don't use that word in Buddhism, but basically it just means, okay, I'm an angry person and I want to be a calm person. How do I accomplish that? I overconsume food or I overconsume my phone. I use my phone too much. How do I stop that? How do I become a person that isn't like that? I'm a person that overspends, but I want to be rich. How can I be rich? Well, in order to be rich, you have to stop spending and you have to invest and you have to be brave. So you look at all the qualities of what you want to become and you look at yourself very deeply. What is it that's holding me back? Why am I overspending? Am I doing it to cover up loneliness? Is it to cover up sadness? What is it? And okay, I realize I overspend because it makes me feel better. Why does it make me feel better? What is it covering up? It's covering up loneliness. Why am I lonely? And you go deeper and deeper and deeper. The point is to get to the core of it. Meditation helps you create space so you have a choice. Using our mind is a tool. It's completely okay to think and we have to think. It's okay to think about the future and learn from the past. But if our minds are stuck in overdrive, where we're constantly doing that, then we can't have any peace in our lives. A lot of the things we do in our lives are run by our habits, and we need to change those. I'm going to make some more videos about meditation in the near future. I'll put some guided meditations here, and I'll also discuss different aspects of what I've discussed today. Have a great day. May today bring you the opportunity to look deeply, feel love, and to create something beautiful. Even if that's just peace within yourself, that's already a lot.